Welcome back to another Rate That. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Hey guys, what is up? Brian Fanafan17 here. Welcome back to another Rate That Song, which means welcome back to more screen time of looking at my face on this really crappy Mac computer camera, or whatever it is, really. In this series, I basically rate a song from a scale of 1 to 10. I have 10 different categories sort of representing the scale. 1 means I hate it more than broccoli at the bottom of a garbage disposal, and 10 means it is one of my all-time favorite songs. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Alrighty, so we got our trusty chart up here. I also want to apologize that both the Rate That Fan and the Rate That Song series, I have not worked on them for the past 2 months. I guess I've just kind of gotten busy and stuff. But I kind of really wanted to make this a regular series, so I'll try to get more into really trying to do it. But I just didn't want you guys to think I had totally forgotten about the series, so my apologies for being away for a couple months. But here we are, back, better than ever, and we are going to do the second Rate That Song. So just a little refresher for last time, I rated 6 songs, 3 of which I considered to be my favorite up here. I also just realized, I didn't really mention it last time, but I realized all 3 of those favorite songs I rated are in the key of E. I kind of have perfect pitch, so most people, I've heard that a lot of people don't really know song keys and such just from listening to them, but that's kind of one of my, I guess, special talents, you could say. Like, I don't want to brag, but, like, anyways, yeah, so all of these are in the key of E, and I thought that was very interesting because one of my favorite keys, I think my all-time favorite key actually is E, so I guess that makes sense that, like, 3 of my favorite songs, although they're all from different decades, they're all in the key of E. And then down here we got a bunch of songs. I picked 3 songs that I kind of knew I didn't really like. As I mentioned last time, I like mostly everything, so it was very hard to find songs I don't like or hate, and this is what I could come up with from memory. So, anyways, so now we are going to start getting into themes. So the last video did not garner a lot of views, I'm gonna say. It only garnered a few hundred, and I only got a few comments. I asked everyone to leave a request about what theme they'd like me to do next time, and I didn't really get a specific request, but the closest thing I got to a request was Fan of Vacuum's 2 comment. He left a comment on there, and he kind of discussed his music taste a little bit, and he told me that he really is into early 2010s music. I was talking about how, when I was talking about this song, Kesha, Die Young, that's like a nostalgic favorite for many 2000s children, and how many 2000s children just love the stuff from the early 2010s. And I mean, I can understand that. It was happy, it was upbeat, like you'd go to the club and you'd party to like the newest banger that was like released. So he just said that he always found himself going back to those late 2000s, early 2010s artists like Kesha, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, etc. So I decided to take from that and say, why don't we have that be the theme for the second episode, which is the first theme, because the first one was really just an intro to get an idea of what this series was like. So why don't we have the second one be well, actually, they're pretty much all going to be themes. So why don't we kick off our first theme / second episode with early 2010s music. So last time, because it was an intro, I sort of garnered a lot of these songs from memory, but sometimes, even though I know like so many songs, but sometimes it's harder. My mind does not just make them appear. Okay, that sounded weird, but make them, like, I just instantly think of like all these songs. Like, I often have to be reminded, like, oh yeah, like that's just how my mind works, you know. So I decided that you're probably going to often find me using various streaming platforms or radios to get reminded of these songs. So that's just going to be something I probably do a bit. I might even go through certain playlists in some of the episodes and just rate each song in the playlist, or I'll look at a radio station. Now, obviously, as I mentioned before, I can't play music on here because of copyright laws and stuff. Dang copyright laws. But, I mean, they make sense. I mean, it's fair, but it's also a nuisance, too. I wish I could just play the songs for you. But you can always just go up and listen to them. So anyways, we're already getting 5 minutes into the little explaining, but I thought I had some more explaining to do since this is the first kind of official episode that's not the intro. So anyways, today I am going to use Apple Music because Apple Music has these playlists that basically I don't know how to explain it. They're basically playlists that are of the pop hits. Well, actually, there's pop hits, rock hits, all indie hits, hip hop hits, whatever genre, but like blank hits, whatever genre hits of each year. Like they do all the way from like the 50s through today, like because obviously the Billboard Hot 100 has existed since like the mid 50s, and that's when the whole hit songs thing started. Obviously that there were no such things as charts when classical music was around. Of course, I'm not a classical music geek, so maybe I'm wrong. But, I mean, imagine if there were actually charts when classical music existed. But anyways, we are going to start with, I'm going to do 8 songs, I think, for this episode. I'm going to do 2010 through 2013. And I'm going to shuffle 2 random songs from each of those playlists, from Pop Hits 2010 through Pop Hits 2013. So, our first song that we will be rating is Jar of Hearts by Christina Perri. Oh, that's a very good song. I didn't know it was actually released in 2010. I thought it was 2011, but obviously good to fact check. It says 2011 there. What does Wikipedia say? Okay, it was actually released, I think, as in 2010. It was released onto iTunes as the debut single. So it was basically the first single that this artist ever released. Christina Perri, great voice. Anyway, so yeah, it is from 2010 technically, but I think the album for that song that has that song in it was released in 2011, so that's why that's why I thought it was 2011 all that time. So anyways, enough obsessing over the year. I really like that song because it's very sad. It's basically about getting out of a toxic relationship and saying goodbye to someone who just really lets you down, or more than just saying goodbye, basically just saying don't come back for me. It's has some resentment in it, but also just some sadness in it, and it's such a good song, and it's such a good breakup song. I really love it. It's definitely not. I was just talking about how early 2010s music was just so upbeat and happy and blah blah blah. This is definitely one of those exceptions, but it's still a really beautiful song. I would not say it's one of my absolutely all-time favorite songs, but it's pretty close. I really love it, so I'm going to give it a 9. Christina Perri, Jar of Hearts. And again, us early 2000s kids, born in the early 2000s, definitely a child one. See, I almost did it again, 2011. I mean, it's probably not that big of a deal the year, but I just want to make sure it's accurate. So, that is our first song. Song number 2. A real childhood one for me. Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars. Okay, so that's obviously a very classic love song. It's iconic. Let's not lie. It is an absolutely iconic song. I believe it is also from 2010. I know it was released on his debut album. I'm not sure if it's his debut single or not. It was released as 2010 there. Yep, it was his debut solo single, whatever. Oops, that's my YouTube channel. Okay, so, I don't know. I don't know, despite it being really childhood, I'm a little bit mixed to saying between. I wouldn't say it's absolutely one of, like, I'm obsessed with that song or anything, but I do really like it a lot. In fact, I'm debating between if it's a really like an 8 or a 9. But you know, it's so childhood. I've heard it a lot of times, so that's one of the reasons why maybe I am not obsessed with it. If I hear a song a lot, some people say they listen to songs and they just never get bored of them. You hear the classic comment, I never get bored of this song, no matter how much I listen to it, it never gets old. But I'm not really quite like that. I mean, oftentimes when I find a favorite song, I'll just play it over and over and over again until I do eventually it's not quite as great sounding to me, and then I'll just move on to something else, you know. But I think because of its childhood factor and just the really nice lyrics and the melody, and just because Bruno is so talented, I'm putting it in 9. I feel like putting it in 8. I can't lie and say it's my all-time favorite song. I feel bad enough just for not putting it in 10. But again, this is just my personal opinion. I'm sure for many people it is a 10. But I feel like putting it in 8 would be doing it kind of dirty. So I'm going to put it in 9. Alright, moving on to the next year, 2011. Oh, yes. I don't know, you might have heard the start of that song on my phone, but that will not be enough to give it a copyright, thankfully. One Direction. What Makes You Beautiful? Oh my gosh. Wow, we are just getting some iconic songs here, which is perfect. We're talking about some of the most iconic songs for I mean, if we're getting into early 2010s music, it's good to have iconic songs that we just all know and love. So I'm curious now I think this might be a I think we're getting into like all debut singles here too, which is really interesting. Yes, it is. It is the debut single when they were. I don't. I don't sometimes follow bands super closely. I wouldn't call myself necessarily a Directioneer, that I'm just obsessed with them or anything, but I do love One Direction. I do really hope they get back together one day. That would be massive if they got back together. And I do know they were on X Factor, is that right? And then they didn't win, but Simon Cowell saw potential in them, so he basically signed them, and thankfully he did, because I think in some ways they're more iconic than probably some of the winners of the actual winners of the X Factor. So yeah. Anyways, getting into the song rating. So the song is actually from 2011. I'm not wrong about that, from September 11th. Man, this is also really childhood too. I don't know. Um it's probably not one of my all-time absolute favorite songs, even though it is actually in the key of E. Um it is really good. I remember it kept playing on repeat at camp, like, over and over again, which made me a little sick of it, but that was years ago. So now, I can't decide if yeah, I think it's going to be another 9 for me. It's same with the Bruno Mars one. Like, I feel like if I put it in 8, that would be doing it pretty dirty, but I can't lie and say it's one of my all-time favorites, but I do really like it a lot, so it is a 9. What Makes You Beautiful? Like I said, it's hard to find songs I don't like, but of course, it's like everyone be loving these 2010 songs, because it's like the amount of nostalgia that's developed for them lately is just like a lot. So, I mean, all us early 2000s kids are like basically grown up now. So it's like these will always be the songs that make our childhood, you know. All right. Okay, we got another really iconic song, but I don't think it's actually, I know it's not a debut single this time, finally. It is a song by Adele, Someone Like You. Probably one of her most, if not maybe arguably her most iconic song. And it is was written and produced, or second. Is it the lead single from that album? Oh, it is the second single. So it isn't even the lead single from her 21 album. So obviously, for those of you who are fans of Adele, you know that she released an album before this. This is not her debut album, but it's not even her debut single. It's her second and actually final single from her album 21. She only released 2 singles from it. So, oops, that is not what I meant to do. I don't even know if I'm going to put it there, honestly. I don't know. Delete column, delete rows. Yeah, sometimes I'm just like, I almost press delete table. Okay, anyways, enough of all that confusion. I don't know. This one I had to debate. I'm definitely not even considering 8 for this one. It has to be either 9 or 10, because this is a beautiful song. Again, just like Jar of Hearts, it's another really meaningful breakup song. In some ways, it's like this one is even more. I mean, I hate to compare it to Jar of Hearts because they're both beautiful songs, but this one has even kind of more depth in it and lyrics, and just really has some. I mean, for the longest time, it's such a childhood song too, but for the longest time I couldn't really figure out what it was about. And then when I did learn what it was about, it was like it's so powerful, even for someone like me who's like single and probably never been in a serious relationship. So it's like it makes me feel like I have been, and I'm like moving on and accepting the final goodbye. You know, it's like that song is really about saying the final goodbye to someone who really gave you great memories. But anyways, enough rambling on about the meaning. I don't know. Again, I think it's gonna have to go 9. I've rated them all 9 so far. Like I said, sometimes it's just like I love all these songs so much, but I can't put every single song. I have to kind of leave this row special for those songs I just think are absolutely my favorite. But I have to say, this one, it was hard to, it's kind of, I could even give it a 9.5, honestly, because it's like, I really love it. Probably even more than some of the other ones in here. So it's a really good song. And again, super childhood. That song basically, in a way, you could say it made up my childhood. I remember hearing it on the radio so much when it first came out, even for several years after it had been released. I even found an old video of me filming ceiling fans at the Indiana State Fair back in 2013. In one of the gift shops, that song came on the radio, and I actually started singing along to it as I was filming the fans. That was kind of cringy. That was pretty cringy to watch back, I'm not going to lie. I think yeah. Yeah. I have no words for it, honestly, but I mean, it was funny, too. Okay. Alright, so we're in 2012, and I finally come across a song that I kind of need to give it a listen to, because I don't really know it by heart. Occasionally that you might notice that will happen in the series, and what I will do is I will do the magic of speeding up time while I put on my headphones and listen to this song, and then I will give it a rating. So the song is Let's Go. Before I actually listen to it, let's look up some info about it. The song is Let's Go by Calvin Harris featuring Ne-Yo. It is from 2012. It is from his album 18 Months, which has a lot of bangers on it. So I think I've heard this song a couple times before. I definitely know about it. But I would really like to give it a true listen before I give it an accurate rating. So, it was released. This is the 3rd single from the album in March of 2012. So I'm going to do the magic of speeding up time, and I'm going to listen to that song. Alrighty, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed that little speed up whiz through time. So I just listened to that song, and I really liked it a lot. That was definitely a song that you probably want to listen to for getting hyped up for something. And of course, Calvin Harris dropping them beats. Calvin Harris is one of my favorite DJs. I really like his style, and I mean, I like all the big DJs, but like David, is Guetta? How do you say his last name? I've never been able to learn how to say David's last name, but David. See one of some of the other ones. Marshmello, Zed. I love Zed. And Kygo too. I love all of those. So Calvin Harris and Neo, Let's Go. I don't know if I'd say I definitely listened to it. I wouldn't say it's my all-time favorite song by Calvin Harris, but I definitely liked it a lot. And I feel a little bad because I'm giving all 9s today, which is like, but I mean, I'm just being honest. These are just my honest opinions. I mean, what can I do, right? Harris featuring me. Yo. Is it so the capital? You say, yeah, you do 2 capitals. I just wasn't sure. And then Let's Go. 2012. Great year for music. Alright, our next song is Payphone by Maroon 5. Oh, I really like that song a lot. Actually, I think that one might be a 10. Because the more I've listened to it, the more it has lines in it that I really like. It's definitely up there as to one of my favorite Maroon 5 songs. The song also features Wiz Khalifa. Maroon 5 featuring Wiz Khalifa. Song is Payphone. My favorite line from that song is even the sun sets in paradise. That is just so... I think that's pretty deep. I'm not gonna lie. I really like that song a lot. And of course, it's childhood, so that's definitely a factor that helps too. Alright, our final year, 2013. For this episode, I'm going to go through all types of music, don't worry. I mean, I know so many songs. I mean, we might end up with like 200 episodes, and I'd probably still have a lot of songs to go. But, I don't mind. Okay, so, our next song is Roar by Katy Perry. Oh, yes. That is a really good song. I don't know if I'd say that's definitely my favorite song by Katy Perry, but it's definitely extremely motivational. I love the female empowerment in it. I love just the empowerment in general in it, too, about finally standing up to that toxic person and saying, I've had enough. I think that's how I perceive the song, at least. I would not say... I might have to give this one an 8, just because I've heard it a lot, and... I mean, it's definitely, there's some Katy Perry songs I just absolutely love, I'm like obsessed with, and, well, okay, actually, it sounds a little weird, but it sounds like, OMG, I'm obsessed, but there are some Katy Perry songs I could listen to on repeat. I mean, honestly, I could listen to any of these on repeat, but... I might have to go with 8 for that one, just comparing it to other Katy Perry songs that I know. But it's definitely iconic. Again, definitely a very childhood song. Another thing I should probably mention, I just want to make sure that please don't get mad at me for my ratings. I know some people that are like diehard fans of songs might just come at me in the comments and say, you didn't give that a 10. What's wrong with you? You have the crappiest taste in music ever. And I just want to say that if it's an 8, that I truly mean I really like it. Like I said, there's all these categories down here that probably aren't going to get very full because I just love music. And like I said, it's just hard because, I mean, with these 3 categories, these are all great categories for me and means that I could honestly listen to these songs, maybe even a few times on repeat. So just so you know, it is not a bad thing if it's an 8, if it's like anything from a 7 to a 9. Just because it isn't 10 does not mean I dislike the song in any way. So just want to make sure we can clear that up. Alright, anyways, our next and final song of the episode is Get Lucky by Daft Punk featuring Pharrell Williams and Nile Rodgers. I do really like that song a lot. I don't know if I'd say it was my all-time favorite songs, but I definitely think it's going to probably go in the songs I love because it's really catchy. I'm very sad that Daft Punk has retired from music. They were just some of the most iconic songs. Even those songs that they were featured on that are by The Weeknd, all their stuff is great. I'm just so sad that they've retired. But this is definitely one of their more iconic songs, and I also really like it. I don't think, again, not my favorite Daft Punk song, but I do really like it, so I think I'm going to give it a 9. Featuring Pharrell. I'm just going to put Pharrell because to save up room, and a lot of people know him as that. It's just Pharrell. So, Get Lucky 2013. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed that second episode of Rate That Song. This is a series I definitely hope to keep continuing, so stay tuned for episode 3. I'm going to give you a little teaser, a little hint about what episode 3 is going to be like. Sometimes when we think of our favorite songs or the most iconic songs that play on the radio, we think of the singer or the listed artist, actually, and oftentimes the DJ too, Calvin Harris. But we often don't see the people who are behind in producing or writing those songs. So on our next episode, I have a very special songwriter in mind. This might be a hint. If I don't know how many of you guys actually watching this know who this guy is and are a big of a fan of this guy, but if you are a big fan of this guy, this hint will probably give it away. He is known as the Invisible Man. That is going to be our next episode. Just a little hint. I'm not going to say who it is, but you probably don't know who it is, but he has written some of the most iconic songs. So that is going to be for next time. But until then, I hope you guys all have a great day, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Rate That Song. Take care.